Hello, good morning. My name is Lydia Gunn. I will be teaching this course, ECN 5030, which is a Foundation of Microeconomics and Macroeconomics. I have with me in my hand now a copy of the syllabus, which you should at some point take a look and download it and pay attention to some of the things that require of you to take this course. Well, let me introduce myself very quickly. I have been teaching here at UNCP for 10 years, going into my 11th year. I had my PhD in economics from University of Texas at Austin. Had my master's degree from University of, Southern Illinois University, also in economics. And my undergraduate degree also in, guess what, economics. From the same university, that is SIUC, Southern Illinois University. I've been basically just teach principles of micro and macroeconomics, sometimes health economics. So anyway, for this course, this is an MBA foundation course that requires you to, it's a prerequisite for you to take another economics class, which is known as managerial economics. So right away, I could show you two textbooks here. We will be using two textbooks, and you should be buying the books because PowerPoint slides are not good substitutes. If you want to do well in this course, I highly encourage you, please get the books. So this is the first book we'll be using on principles of microeconomics. And so during the first half of the semester, I will follow this book quite closely. You can get this book from a UNCP bookstore. And what it is, I package a book so that the textbook will be more affordable to students. If you buy the original books, I think they're a lot more expensive. So what I do is I only take out the chapters that we will be using or will be dealing, and then I package it together. It's probably like half the price or even less than half the price. Now, the second book we'll be using looks like this. This is Principles on Macroeconomics, second half of the semester. Again, you will need both books, so take a good look, and you could also get them from a UNCP bookstore. So as you journey through this course, you will need the textbook for homework problem and for detailed explanation. So again, the PowerPoint presentation, it's just basically the key points and what you need to see how I do the graph, for example, examples, tables, graphs, things like that. But the detail, a lot of the time you would have to read it in the book. Also, other things that you will need for this course is something like that. This the calculator, and I'm not asking for any advanced, financial calculator, but just a very basic handheld calculator. These are the cheap one you could get from Office Depot. It costs maybe, I don't know, $3, maybe $2. So these are the basic calculator that you need. That is plus, minus, multiplication, and division. So, or any other kind of calculator will work, but you do not need a very advanced calculator. So keep that in mind while you do your lessons. And other things that I will mention is for this course, we would have, of course, you have already downloaded your syllabus at this point, I hope. So what you should be doing is look at the course outline and then highlight. Yellow or green color, highlight all the deadlines. Yeah, because that's what online class is. You need to be very disciplined. You need to follow the deadlines very closely. Right off, we have two other things I should emphasize. That is, there will be 6 sets of homework problems, and 3 sets will be from Principles of Micro section, and then the last 3 sets will be from Principles of Macro. I typically prefer students to write with their handwriting because you will be doing some calculation, graphs, and all that. Please do not type your homework assignment. Yeah, and then normally what I ask students to do is after they've done it, they could scan it and then submit it to the blackboard. or email to me, but I typically prefer the, whatever methods that's discussed here. I think that's to submit it online. Okay, the other thing is you will have the chapter test. So chapter test is something that we, basically like 10 or 12 multiple choice questions that test you the basics of the chapters. So you will need to know beyond just definition, but also how to apply it. So there will be examples, problems, things like that. The chapter test will be graded. The big part of the grades, about 55%. And then you have something called flash quizzes, which you could go in and practice as many times as you want until you get 10 out of 10, but then these are not graded. These are just considered as practice. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is your midterm and final. So yes, there will be a midterm exam that covers all the chapters in the Principles of Micro section. And then at the end of the semester, there will be a final exam that covers only the Principles of Macroeconomics section. So, and these two exams, please pay attention that they will be proctored. And because we require 25% of our online tests to be proctored. I mean, 25% goes to your final grade. 25% of your final grade should be proctored. And that comes from your, again, your midterm and your final. I think I pretty much covered that. So if you have any questions about the syllabus or about how the course run and questions like that, please send me an email, or you could go online and click on that, ask your professors and ask the questions. And I typically say, other students who read the syllabus a little bit more diligently, know the answer, they could go ahead and answer the questions as well. And if you beat me to answer the questions, you get bonus points. Not many students take that challenge, but every now and then I do get students who do that. Okay, so without further delay, I'm going to start chapter 1 on the Principles of Micro section. So chapter 1 focuses on very general questions about economics, and so again, it's the title is Thinking Like an Economist. So at this point, if you like, you could take out your PowerPoint slides, which you could download it easily on your PC. So you're probably looking at it right now. But at the same time, you should probably have some notebook or pen and pencil ready to take some notes as well. And typically for economics, in order to do well, I tell my face-to-face students also that when I do the graphs, do it with me, so you can see the process. Because a lot of time when you open the textbook, you look at it, it's like, oh, gee whiz, it's the diagram is done. We don't know how, what I call a da-da diagram. So it's finished. You look at it and say, yeah, but how? Which line do you draw first, It's not so important which line you draw first, but if you see me do the process, it helps. And then towards the end of the Principles of Macroeconomics section, the graphs are going to get a lot more complicated. So this are the time that you really should just do it with me and see the process. So the order in which you draw the graph will become important towards the end of the semester. Some of the materials that we cover. So for now, let's ask some very basic questions, and most of you have heard the term economics, but what exactly is economics? So this is a study of how people make their choices under conditions of scarcity and of the results those choices for society. So economics is about making decisions, really. So when you study principles of economics, you basically are looking at decision making for households, for producers, as well as for the government. Let me write this down. So economics is about making choices. Okay, so who are the agents? Who are the people who make choices? We are the people. Who are we? We are the household. Okay, or sometimes you see the word consumers. So who are you consumers for today? You're the consumers of education. And I am the producers of education today. Because you're consuming my lectures now. So that would be your firm, okay? Companies out there like Walmart, Foot Lion, and Macy's. So these are the firms, Best Buy, for example. And then you have the government. You have Donald Trump. So government is also making decisions, okay? Making choices, making decisions. Well, I tell you, when you make decisions, you have to have choices. You have to make choices. So for example, well, here it is. I'll come to that later. So microeconomics is the study of individual choice under scarcity and its implication for the behavior of prices and quantities in individual market. So if you look at it, right, microeconomics is a study of how these three agents, household, firms, and government, are making their decision based on some sort of economic principles. And then the other thing is, the other criteria that we should talk about is the scarcity. What is scarcity? Well, that means you don't have enough of it. Let's take a look. Well, I think before we get to that, scarcity is you don't have enough of things. For example, when you talk about making choices, you talk about resources, right? So what are the resources that you know, for example? Now, you know that you and I are considered resources because you could probably play piano, I could probably play guitar, and you could probably sing, I could probably teach or cite a poem, you know. So that's our human resources. We got various talents, ability, experiences. Okay, so that's our human resource, and then of course you have natural resource. That would be things like what you get out there in your environment. You get natural gas, you get oil, you get iron, aluminum, gold, precious metals, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now you also have capital as a resource. So when you think of capital, you're not thinking about Washington, D.C. You're thinking in terms of money, okay? So a lot of time, you ask somebody to make an investment, they say, oh, I don't have money, or I don't have capital. That's all they're talking about. You don't have enough money to make the investment. So these are the resources, and we say that resources are usually scarce. That means not enough. So, and you can also say time. For example, everybody got 24 hours. I have 24 hours, you got 24 hours. You heard people say a lot of time, I don't have enough time. What does it mean? That means you got 24 hours, I got 24 hours, and hey, it depends on how you manage it. You know, you could spend 12 hours sleeping. Does anybody sleep that long? Or you could spend 8 hours sleeping and then 8 hours working. And then the other 8 hours would be like eating, taking a bath, and exercise, doing grocery shopping, socializing, talking to people, all that, watching TV, or studying. Never thought about that. Yeah, studying as well. So now you got all these scarce resources, and you have unlimited ones because, people have all kinds of wants. I want this, I want that. I don't have enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. How many times have you heard that? So because you have scarce resources and we have unlimited wants and demands, so then we have to make choices. if you're here today listening, if you're sitting down right now listening to this lecture, obviously you cannot be sleeping at the same time. I wouldn't know because, I'm not seeing you. You are somewhere else watching this video. You cannot be swimming at the same time. You can only do one thing at a time. And some of you might be listening to music while you watch this. Some of you could do that, but not everybody could. Okay, so we'll come back to that. Now, next, I would also want to touch on what is macroeconomic, which is the second half of the class material. So macroeconomics, you study the performance of a given economy. For example, a U.S. economy. How do you measure U.S. is performing well? As compared to China, you look at the GDP, gross domestic products, you look at the inflation rate, you look at unemployment rate, savings rate, and so on and so forth. And then we also will look at policies, two types of government policies known as fiscal policy as well as monetary policy. And we typically use a Keynesian model to demonstrate these two types of policy. So in other words, macroeconomics is about the big picture. I had a student in my room the other day, so I asked him, do you know what's the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? And he looked at me and grinned. He said, one is small, one is big. I said, you got it. As simple as that. One is big, one is small. And this is a big one about the whole economy of a given country, USA, for example. And the microeconomics is a small part of the economy. So in other words, you zero in, you say, okay, now we break down the big economy into household, firms, and government. And we'll look at how they make decisions. So you will have microeconomic policy that pertains to market. So we'll deal a lot with that as we go deeper into the course. So macroeconomics is about the big pictures of the economy. So let's look at this example. Now remember a while ago we say make choices. Make choices, in other words, trade-off. So if we ask you this question, what is the optimal class size? Is it 30 students? Is it 300 students? Or is it one student? Wow. It must be very special to be that one and only student. In fact, you feel like that now because you're sitting there by yourself watching this video. Nobody's to your right, to your left. Right? You're not in a class, face-to-face class setting. So, as a university administrator, they have to make choice like that. How big should the class be? It's 25 optimal size, or should we bump it to 30 students, or 35 students, or even 40 students for big classes? So the question is asked, do we want to maximize learning without consideration of cost? Is that the best? For example, a personal tutorial course in economics might cost $40,000. Wow, can you afford that? You're the only student in my class. So now, if you think about it, you say most students cannot afford that $40,000. So why don't we have a bigger size class, like say 300 students? So in this case, it might only cost students $200 per student. Well, that's a little bit more reasonable than $40,000 per student. How many of you can afford that? Don't raise your hand because that's like 4 years of college education, right? Well, to some extent, 1 year in a private college of tuition and fees, yeah. So then we ask this question, what trade-off must university administrators and students consider when choosing class size? So there are two things, you want a bigger class size and you pay less. You have the quantity, you may not have the quality as much. Then if you have a very small class size at one student, for example, you definitely have a quality because it's 1-to-1, but you have to pay a lot. So where do you draw the line? How many students are considered optimal size? Okay, next scarcity principle. So we talk about boundless wants, unlimited, I want this, I want that. I demand this, I demand that. It cannot be satisfied with limited resources. What other limited resources? We just got done talking. Human resources, natural resources, capital, and time. These are the considered as resources. See, a human being has 24 hours. I don't think you could exercise 24 hours. You know, you reach your capacity after maybe about 3 hours, 4 hours of exercise. You become fatigued, so you have to take a break, you know. Maybe next day you continue, but nobody exercises for 24 hours, right? So we are limited. We got our limitations. Therefore, having more of one thing usually means having less of another. Yeah. If you spend 12 hours sleeping, you only have like the other 12 hours to work with for a given day. Last time. But if you only spend 4 hours sleeping, hey, you got 20 more hours to work with today. So that's your trade-off. Having more of one thing usually means having less of another. Because of scarcity, we must make choices, so therefore, we talk about trade-off. There is this saying, very famous economic saying, if you like, it's, you hear people say no free lunch. What does it mean? Well, maybe a buddies of yours will say, well, after class, let me take you to this, let's go to the cafeteria, I'll buy you lunch. I mean, lunch maybe costs about $8 to $9 at the cafeteria. I think that's how much it costs. And then, you'll be sitting with this friend who pay for your lunch. You say it's a free lunch, but really it's not free. Why? Because when you're sitting down, having lunch with him or her, he bores you to death, talking about his problem or her problem, and you thought, well, I could have just sit nicely in my dormitory room, listen to nice music and munch on my own hamburgers and fries, and that's my opportunity cost, which I'm going to get to. So yes, we have unlimited ones, but we have limited resources, so therefore we got scarcity. And because of scarcity, you have to make choices, or you have to be engaged in some sort of trade-off. So then it brings us to the principle known as the cost-benefit principle. What is it? This is applied to individual. It could be a firm or society. Again, three of these decision makers. They should take an action if and only if the extra benefits from taking the action are at least as great as the extra cost. So if you write down an equation, they will look like this. Your marginal benefit must be greater than or equal to marginal cost. Then you engage in certain activity. For example, by you taking this course right now, says that your marginal benefit of taking this course is greater than the marginal cost of it. You're willing to pay for a tuition and fee because you see the benefits of it. You're going to get your MBA degree, and then you're going to apply for a job, and straight away your salaries range is going to be much higher because you have an MBA degree. So that's just the truth. That's just a fact in this world. So now let's ask another question to demonstrate how this principle works here. So we ask a question here and say, should you walk downtown to save $10 on a $25 computer game? Well, so we're going to apply this cost-benefit principle to this example here. So I'm going to write this down, cost-benefit principle, and basically looking at marginal benefit and marginal cost, if you can quantify them. So this is what we're trying to do. We're going to try to quantify the benefit as though we can measure them, and the marginal cost as well. So we give you some number here. We say, okay, well, let's just say that the benefit of going downtown is $10. Well, why is it a benefit? Because you save $10, so that's your benefit. Hey, wait a minute, it costs something to go downtown. Okay, because on a hot sunny day, 110 degrees outside, if you were to walk downtown, it's going to be a lot more effort. So the price goes up, marginal cost goes up. The cost of going downtown is the dollar value of everything you give up to go downtown. If it is on a rainy day, people are less likely to want to go out. They say, oh, forget it. It's raining outside. Why get wet? Why not just stay home? So your marginal cost of getting up and go downtown keep going up because it's harder and harder. You have to make extra effort if it is a rainy day or a very hot sunny day, 110 degrees outside. You don't want to get sunburn, you don't want to get skin cancer, and blah, 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 all the excuses. Well, the point is marginal cost goes up. Now, how do you estimate the cost? How much should someone have to pay to walk downtown? If you would walk downtown for $9, this is an assumption the trip cost is then at $9. Okay, so assuming we could quantify it with two numbers, the benefit is $10, and the cost of going downtown is $9. So here you got 10 here, you got 9 here. So you're okay because marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost. $10 is greater than $9. So what is the outcome? The outcome is yes. Take the action or go ahead. Go ahead means what? Yes. Walk downtown and save that $10 because it's worth it. Now, if it is the other way, if it is the same, like $10 equals to $10, then you still will go because you see the criterion say greater than or equal to. But if it is less than, like the next example will show, so if the cost of making the trip is instead of $9, it's now $12, you have a problem now. Say, because then your marginal benefit is actually less than marginal cost. So in other words, this principle is being violated, so then the answer to that would be no, don't go. So it seems like it all depends on that marginal benefit and marginal cost. How do you quantify that? How do you value it? Now, a lot of time you hear people say, oh, it is not worth it. It is not worth it to buy that piece of cake because the marginal benefit, what I get out of it is less than the cost, But, if you go in and buy the cake, you enjoy it, it has to be because the marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost. You say, yeah, it's all worth it. Let's get it, right? So, the next question we ask is, what is your economic surplus? Keyword, from buying the game downtown. So underline this word, economic surplus. What exactly is economic surplus? Let me erase this and write down. In fact, you have seen it already, you just didn't realize it. So, your economic surplus, which you will hear this term throughout the whole semester, well, throughout the parts about microeconomics section. So here it is, you have economic surplus, which basically is your benefit minus the cost. And if this turns out to be positive, like in this case, benefit is greater than the cost, so you say go ahead, do it. Take the activity, do the activity. But if it is less than 0 or you get a negative value, that means the cost is greater than the benefit, like in this case, $12 versus $10. So if you get a negative value for economic surplus, you say, don't do it. Not worth it. But if your economic surplus turns out to be greater than 0 or positive, you say yes. Yes, do it. Or go for it. So that's basically is, this part about some general term definitions about very basic understanding of what economics is. So here it is, the definition. What is economic surplus? Now, all these terms, right, you have it in your book. So if you kind of like look at your book on the sidebar for chapter 1, the side menu, you will see a lot of these definitions for scarcity, what is opportunity cost, what is, which I have not talked about, but I will be touching on that very soon. So what is economic surplus? It's the benefit of taking an action minus its cost. That's it. What I just wrote down here. The goal of economic decision makers, whether your household, your firm, or government, is to maximize their economic surplus. That's it. If you're a consumer, you want to maximize your economic surplus, and if you're firms or producer, you also want to maximize the economic surplus, which basically is profits. If you're a firm, company, you want to maximize your profit, given the cost. It's not free, if you operate a business, yeah, there are profits, but yes, you get revenue, but then there are costs to be subtracted. So don't forget that. And if you're government, you know how to maximize your economic surplus as well. So here it is. What is, introducing a new term here, what is considered a rational person? A rational person is somebody with a well-defined goals who tries to fulfill those goals as best as he can. You might say, oh, it's so vague, what does that mean? Here it is. We could get a little bit more specific by linking that definition of rational person with economic surplus. Here it is. The rational decision makers take all the actions that yield a positive economic surplus. That's it. So if you come to class today or you're taking this course today, you said you would have to agree that your marginal benefit is greater than cost, because then it's, your economic surplus is positive. So what that means is that, yes, you come to the class or you take the class. Now, if that's just say that you calculate that and then you get a positive number, economic surplus, and then you decide, you say, wait a minute. Even though the economic surplus is $1,000 or $10,000, whatever that number is, I don't think I would take this course. Then we start scratching our heads and say, that's not rational. That's not being rational. Because if you're rational, if you have a positive economic surplus, yes, you will take the class. That's what a rational person would do. But if you decide, even though you have a positive economic surplus, you decide not to do it, not to take the class in this example, and then we say you're irrational. So that's the definition of rational person. Next definition, very important, is what exactly is opportunity cost? Now, most of you have heard that term, opportunity. What is opportunity? A lot of time when I hire students to be the TA, teaching assistant, or tutor for our economic classes, and they would say things like, oh, thank you for the opportunity. Wow, so what is opportunity cost? So it implies that there's some kind of opportunity there. So let's look at the definition. It's the value of the next best alternative. I would underline the word next best alternative. That must be foregone to undertake an activity. It is not the combined value of all other foregone activities, just the next best one. Notice the word is singular, not plural. So if I were to ask you, so what is opportunity cost of sitting down now and listen to this boring lecture? You might say, I could have gone swimming. 45 minutes, yeah, that's enough time for me to go swimming. Or I could take extra nap in the afternoon, sure. Or I could, I don't know, I could go to McDonald's and fry hamburgers and earn minimum wages. So now, so far you have heard 3 choices, right? What are the choices? Okay, sleeping, okay, working at McDonald's, okay, what's the other one? Swimming, okay. So, see, every individual has different priority. Yours might be sleeping, yours might be earning more money by working at McDonald's. Another person might value swimming or exercising over the other two. So in other words, everybody's opportunity cost is different. If I were to ask 3 different people, they will give me 3 different answers. I expect that. And notice that it is not the combined value of all other foregone activities. Now some of you might say, yeah, I could have done that. I could have worked at McDonald's. Yeah, I could have slept 45 minutes extra of nap in the afternoon. Or I could have gone swimming for 45 minutes. Yeah, I could have do activity 1, I could have done activity 2, I could have done activity 3. So it's not the value of all 3 combined together, because why? You cannot be in 3 places at the same time. I don't think you could be sleeping and swimming at the same time. I don't think you could be sleeping and frying McDonald's hamburgers at the same time. So you're 1 person, 1 activity. So you see that competing forces there? That's your opportunity cost. So if I were to ask you what's the opportunity cost of listening to my lectures right now, you would have an answer for me. Yes. I could have, I don't know, sing to my baby to sleep. I could have done laundry. That's almost the same amount of time to put in a load of washer, stuff in the washer, your clothes in the washer. What is the opportunity cost of buying the game downtown? So we ask that question. Example. So next we want to touch on what is economic models. You know, what exactly is a model? Economic models are abstract models that allow us to analyze situation in a logical way. How nice, how comforting to hear that. So yeah, you can analyze the situation in a logical way, in a more scientific way, like for example, by applying this cost-benefit principle. And you know, this principle will stay with you the rest of your life. You remember taking this economic class talking about what should I do? How should I make this decision? Is the marginal benefit greater than marginal cost? Is it worth it? So a lot of time when you make that decision, you ask that question, is it worth it? Is it worth it to come tomorrow to work? Talking about you're evaluating constantly all the time in your mind, is the marginal benefit greater than the marginal cost? The opportunity cost, the competing activity. What could I have done? Why don't I just take a vacation in the midst of all this business? Other example of abstract models are computer model, climate change, a route map. So this is a traditional way of saying, okay, what is a model route map? In economics, a model is we use a lot of graphs and math, basically. So economic model, and what we're studying in this course, we use a lot of graphs. Okay, and we also use some math, basically algebra. Not so much a calculus because it's not required for this course, but algebra for sure. So next I want to discuss when you make economic decision, the textbook outline 4 different pitfalls. So pitfall number 1 say if you measure cost and benefit, sometimes you think in terms of percentage or proportion rather than absolute dollar amount. So what's the difference here? Proportions or percentage versus absolute value. For example, we ask you this question, should you walk downtown to save $10 on a 2020 laptop computers? And then we ask you the next question, which is more valuable, saving $100 on a 2000 plane ticket to Tokyo or saving a $90 on a $200 plane ticket to Chicago? So I'm going to erase this thing on the board and then, put the example here so you can see what I'm doing. So you understand it, so let's just erase this. Okay, so if you have your calculator, you may want to take it out and work with me. See if you know how to calculate percentage save. So let's look at the first example. So the first example, well, I mean this one, second point here, which is more valuable, saving $100 on a excuse me, I'm looking at this one, yeah. $100 on a 2000 plane ticket to Tokyo. So this one is Tokyo ticket to Tokyo. Okay, so that's your saving $100 on a $2,000 ticket. So then because you calculate percentage save or proportion, you multiply by 100. So basically, this is what? 5. So 5%. And then the other one, or, don't forget, is or they're saving a $90 on a $200 plane ticket to Chicago. So this is an or. Again, to calculate the percentage saving, you have to multiply by 100. So then this becomes 45%. So most of you, when you look at this number, you say, oh, look at this, the ticket to Chicago save you 45%. But the ticket to Tokyo only save you 5%. Most people will make the conclusion that this is a better choice. So, wrong. So this is a pitfall. This is part of the pitfall. If you focus on proportion, you might make the wrong decision. Because the focus should be right here. Oops. The focus should be on the absolute value saved, which is $90 versus $100. So if I have $100 bill in my right hand and $90 in my left hand, and then I'm going to ask you to choose, and you know exactly what's in each hand, you will pick the one that's $100. Yes, you will, because $100 is greater than $90. So in other words, if you go by absolute value, which is really should be the way it is, you will pick this as the answer. And this is a correct answer. This one is a wrong answer, okay? Because this one goes with the percentage saved, that one goes with the absolute number saved. Because $100 is greater than $90, so that should be the correct way of looking at it. How much are you saving? So is saving $100 better than $90? The answer is yes. So it's not so much about the percentage saving. So that's pitfall number 1. And I think I have one more slide and then I will stop here. Okay, that's probably where I will stop. Okay, well, thank you for listening to my first lecture. So the next one I will continue on the next slide, the next lecture. Thank you.